Writing a novel is a marathon, not a sprint. We've all heard that, right? But what you haven't heard is that it's a marathon while you're juggling a chainsaw, a bunch of spinning plates, and not trying to solve a Rubik's Cube at the same time. The sheer mental load of writing, of managing characters, plot, pacing, prose, all of it is staggering. No wonder so many of us get lost in what most writers call the messy middle. We feel buried by the size of the job, but what if I told you that the problem isn't the complexity of the novel, but the way you're trying to attack it? What if the key to a fast, clean first draft isn't multitasking and trying to get everything done at the same time, but tackling one single solitary thing at once? I'd like to talk today about the myth of multitasking, so join me.
You have a story to tell, but you don't know where to start. Let me show you how to free your story. I teach you how to write and how to dig deep in your soul to release your story and make a difference in the world.
I'd like to welcome you today to my channel. I'm Julia Amante. This is my channel, and I'm here to offer you some writing tips every Friday to help you to write your novel. So if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. And if you like anything along the way, please hit that like button because it'll definitely help my channel to grow. So let's be honest, how long is it taking you to complete your first book? Is it taking a year? Is it taking 3 years, 5 years? Or maybe you wrote your novel, but now it's taking you forever to edit it. Okay, so I remember when I started writing and I had to juggle everything, right? We had to think of the plot, and I had to think of the characters, and I had to think of how everything was going to, the subplots, and how everything was going to come together. And it felt like I was going through puzzle pieces, trying to put a puzzle together with pieces from like different boxes and different puzzles. Okay, so it wasn't going to work. Nothing was fitting. And it becomes this frustrating cycle of going back and fixing things, and then that's not working, and then you go back and fix something else, and it just starts to become a confusing mess. So it's not a surprise that those first few novels that I wrote, I never submitted to anyone because they were a mess. Now, they weren't a failure in my opinion, because I learned from each one of those. I learned how to write. And something great happens when you keep plugging away and you keep trying to learn your craft, and you get better with each novel that you write. But somewhere along the way, something clicked, and I realized that there was a problem with the way that I was approaching both writing and editing my books. And so by the time that I sold my first novel, so my first novel was Conquest, I wrote that under my pseudonym Laura Rios. And I was able to write the entire thing in about 2 weeks on a cruise, actually handwritten. Now, how did I do that? Did I suddenly become an amazing writer? No, I'm laughing because no, I did not. I just stopped trying to do everything at once. So I didn't worry about, for example, are all my characters perfect? I just wrote the plot. I wrote down everything. I wrote down, or and then I went through it again, and I made sure that the dialogue was good. And then I went through again, and I made sure that the characters were descriptive enough that you could tell who was who. So what I discovered was that multitasking, trying to do everything, and I'm really great at multitasking in the real world. So I can go ahead and cook while I'm listening to a podcast, while I'm also feeding the dogs, while I'm also doing multiple things. And it works. It's not really a great thing to do, but it works in my life, but it doesn't work in writing a novel. When you're writing and you have, for example, multiple tabs open, and you're researching as you're writing, and you're also checking your Facebook, and you're also leaving a comment about how you're writing today, right? Or whatever. What ends up happening is that you are not doing a good job at any of it, and you're losing your focus on the story. Now, there was this researcher, Dr. Sophie Leroy, and I just love these intelligent researchers that find out things, because you learn a lot, right, from reading what these people discover. And what she discovered was that there is something called residue, attention residue to be accurate. And what this means, it's exactly kind of what it sounds like, right? That there is something left over. So if I go and I check my email, part of my brain is still, and then I switch to writing, right? But part of my brain is still looking at or thinking about something that I read in my email, or I check my Facebook and I learn some horrible news, or I see that it's somebody's birthday or whatever, my mind is still thinking as I move back to my book about that, or like that horrible thing that happened, a friend that I need to send a thank you to, or that I need to send a birthday wish to, or all the things that I think about when I'm going through that, right? Or when I'm thinking, looking at my email, or when I'm researching, all of a sudden I'm thinking deeper about the research and not so much about my story itself. So we don't want that. We don't want that attention residue. We don't want to carry that over to our novel. So something that I'd like you to remember is that that first draft is about getting the structure of that book down. You want to get everything in there, but it doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, you want to have your plot, you want to have the characters, you want to have the structure. What are the main plot points? What is the center conflict? What is the resolution at the end? How is this character transforming from beginning to end? How are they achieving their goals? All of that should be in your first draft. It does not have to be perfect. Your characters don't have to be perfect. The dialogue doesn't have to be perfect. All of that is going to come later when you are editing. So what I want to take away from me and from you is the overwhelm. We don't want to get overwhelmed and never finish the story, because then, we become disheartened. We're not getting the work done. So how do we do that? How do we focus from multitasking, doing a million things at once while we're trying to write, to single tasking? Well, it takes a little mindset shift. I'm not going to lie, because when I tried to just switch, it was hard. It's like, well, how am I going to ignore the pacing here and move on to something else when the pacing is wrong? And what if I forget to come back to it? But trust yourself, you're not going to. You can make a little note if you want, so that you know you need to come back. But we'll talk about that in a second. But what you want to do is you want to pick one thing and only one, and that's what you're going to be working on for that writing session. Let's say it's the villain's motivation. Okay, well then that's what we want to focus on. We want to focus on showing the motivation of the villain. So we don't want to worry about the other things until we get that right. This is going to reduce the cognitive load in your mind. It's going to create less stress, and it's going to lead to deeper and more creative thinking. Second, it's going to build some momentum. So once you see that you are getting your story done, that you are working your way through it, you're going to feel a psychological win, and it's going to propel you forward even more. And third, it's going to create some clarity, because you might notice something else. You might notice that the dialogue is off. Well, then you're going to make a mental note of that, or a written note of that, and you're going to come back, and you'll know that you're going to cover that. So you don't have to worry about it now. You can end your writing session without being stressed out or confused or feeling bad because you're not moving forward. Okay, so practically, how are we going to do that? So step one is that you're going to create a problem inventory. And this means writing down every single thing that is wrong with your story. Is it the pacing? Is it that you don't have motivation for the villain? Is it that you're missing a scene? You need a scene in between two other scenes to show something, a character development issue? Is it that you don't even know what your story is about, and so that you need to figure out, like, what is my theme? What is the purpose of this story? Does it have something to do with your side characters that just aren't developed enough? Was it something to do with the setting? So whatever it is, you're going to write down a list. It could be all of it, right? You could write it all down. It's just not coming together for all of these reasons. And what you're not going to do now is sit down and start writing from chapter 1 and addressing all of those issues. Okay, that's what gets us into trouble. So what you're going to do is you're going to focus on one of those. Is it the villain's motivation? Okay, well, then that's what we need to work on. We need to maybe set it up a little bit earlier in the novel. So we're going to go back to chapter 2, whatever. We're going to add little hints of its motivation. We're going to move through our novel, making sure that that is there, right? That we're showing that to the reader. And how you choose what to tackle first is really just up to you. You might choose the easiest one first, or you might choose something that impacts the entire novel. So you want to get that right, so that you can weave sentences, paragraphs through the novel that clears up whatever issue it is. So you can start with the easiest, you can start with the hardest or the most complex, but the point is that you're choosing only one. And step 3 is creating that focus session. So now you're ready to tackle that one thing. and you create some quiet time. You can use maybe the Pomodoro method. You set a timer for 25 minutes and you don't let anything else distract you. Remember, we don't want anything else. We don't want to check our email. We don't want to do anything else. We just want to write. So we can say, okay, for the next 25 minutes, for the next 45 minutes, whatever you would like, I'm only going to work on this one issue in my novel. I'm not going to do anything else. So let's say it's something that isn't too complicated. You have a hero who is remodeling a house and you realize, this scene is just really boring. He's just fixing things. There's nothing happening. The story's not moving forward. I need to fix this. This is one thing I want to fix and want to work on in these next 25 minutes, 45 minutes, whatever you decide. It could be that all you do for this 25 minutes is just brainstorm. Well, what can I do to spice up this scene? Well, maybe I can have his brother that comes and he's a know-it-all that gets in the way and stops him from doing certain things. Or you could make it darker, right? There could be something dark that he discovers in the house. Or maybe he fails just miserably for some reason and he has to find something else, some other way to fix the house. Maybe he tries to fix the plumbing and there's a huge disaster and decides, I really can't do this. I need to go get an expert, right? Something, whatever, right? You're just brainstorming at this point. And that might be all you do for those 25 minutes. Or maybe you brainstorm for 5 minutes and you're like, yeah, this is the one I like. And then you start writing. You might free write or you might journal write. You could do whatever you want, but you're focusing on that one thing so that you can fix that. You can fix whatever the problem is. And remember that if you come across anything else during this time in your novel, you're just going to set that aside, put it on another piece of paper so that you can deal with that later. And step 4 is to use the TK method. So if you might be familiar with this, if you say you're writing something and then you need some information, you need some facts, you need to research. Instead of opening up a tab, just put TK and then whatever it is you need to fix. So TK means to come. So something that's to come later, something that you're going to add. It's also really easy to search. So when you do a search for all the TKs in your manuscript, it'll be easy for you to find that. So for example, let's say you have this sentence. He walked into the grand library, the shelves groaning under the weight of blank ancient books. TK ancient books. Okay, so TK, I need to find out the number of how many ancient books. So I'm going to just put TK books or ancient books or weight or whatever. And then now I know I need to go get that information. But I don't do it right now. I don't just drop everything and go find that information. I'm going to come back to it. And if you're finding this helpful, I just want to remind you to please subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed, because it definitely helps my channel to grow. So thank you so much. So when you consistently use this single tasking method, what you're doing is that you're solving one problem at a time, right? So you're dealing with the big structural issues, the plot issues, the character issues, and you're doing it one scene at a time so that it's all flowing much better. So you're no longer writing what's famously called that shitty first draft, because the first draft actually ends up being pretty good. You're going to be more productive. Now, is it still going to be a rough draft? Well, yes, of course. Our first drafts are always a rough draft. It's going to have typos. It's going to have issues that you're going to have to deal with, but it's not going to have massive plot holes. You're not going to come to it being completely stressed because you change one thing and then you have to go change something else. The bones of your story are actually going to be strong. During my early pre-published years, I thought that that's what writing was about. It was about struggling through, and everybody goes through this, right? Everybody struggles. Everybody has a hard time putting the story together, and it takes multiple drafts to write. And yes, some of that is true, but it really doesn't have to be that huge of a struggle. The struggle really comes from lack of organization, and it comes from trying to accomplish everything at once, right? All the different things that need to be in a novel and thinking about it all at once and really overwhelming myself. So the secret of single tasking isn't that you're going to be less ambitious. You're actually going to be more productive, and you're going to channel your ambition in the smartest possible way. It's about having the discipline to stay focused and not try to do everything at once, and having faith that if you just keep stacking those bricks, right? One brick at a time, you're building this wonderful masterpiece that is going to be your novel. So handle one problem at a time, one scene at a time, one chapter at a time, and eventually you're going to have a finished book. So let me know what you think, if this sounds good to you, if you've tried multitasking, if you've tried single tasking. And again, this is different for books than it is for your life. So you may be a really great multitasker in real life, but when it comes to books, you really need to focus and you really need to solve one problem at a time. So let me know what you think. Let me know if you've tried this and how it worked for you. And thank you for being here. I hope you come back next week.